All right. Going to record another best ball draft here for you guys. And it's looking like we're pick 10. So could be an interesting one. Going to see what options are available to us, what strategies we can employ there. Got a couple things to talk about during this video as well. So as you all know, my name is Stephen Mullen. I have a YouTube channel going, which I just started, fairly new. I'm also writing a best ball specific blog for Big Dogs Fantasy. And below this video in the description, you will find a link to the latest article I've put out there. There are a few other articles you can read there, and every week there's going to be an upcoming article. Next week is going to be Best Ball Championship MVPs. Week after that is going to be a newer strategy that I've developed talking to other best ball specialists, and it is about drafting zero tight end, which is something we could end up using in this draft, but we'll see. We also could end up on the other extreme of the spectrum if Travis Kelce is there when we pick at 10. That will be an option for us. So, thinking that this draft has frozen since it's been stuck at 0-0. I'm going to have to reload this page. All right, Christian McCaffrey just went off the board at the first pick. Doesn't look like our computer's catching up to this quite yet. So yeah, there'll be a link to the Big Dogs Fantasy site and the latest article in the description. There will also be a link to my Twitter if you want to ask any best ball questions, post rosters and stuff like that for me to look at on there. I will do that. And there will be a link to my Instagram, which is literally just going to be a bunch of rosters of best ball that I draft all summer. So first three off the board: McCaffrey, Barkley, Elliott. Nothing really special going on there. Kamara. So at pick 10, we're going to be kind of hoping to get a Devontae Adams or Travis Kelce, I guess. No guarantees on that happening. It might be in a pretty tough spot. I was all about getting Joe Mixon at the 110. Now that Jonah Williams is out for the season for... Let me turn this off. So sorry about that. Now that Jonah Williams is out, I am way less interested in that. So, could have a really tough pick here at the 110. Might still lean towards Joe Mixon. Might go with one of the wide receivers. Could even go Dalvin Cook. Yeah. I think the 110 is the new worst spot now. I used to think the 111 was the worst spot because I liked Joe Mixon so much. But now I think the 110 is the worst spot. It's basically the first 9 guys I'm excited about getting, and then after that I'm just kind of like, Like now Le'Veon Bell and Joe Mixon are super close for me. I still think the absolute ceiling on Mixon is higher, but this is a tough pick. I'm going to go Joe Mixon. Definitely without that news of their offensive lineman getting hurt, I would have been very excited for that pick. Now I don't feel great about it. I don't have a great plan right now for spots 10, 11, 12. So if anyone that went before us fell to us at 10, I would have picked anyone. Like the first 9 people I'm pretty happy with. So when it gets back to us, we might have the choice between... They could just take all the receivers. Well, I think that it's just kind of ridiculous to pass Le'Veon Bell at this point. As much as I like Dalvin Cook, there's like so much more risk involved in him. So we've got Mixon and Lev Bell as our first 2 picks. It's going to be solid. It's not going to make for a super interesting draft as far as different strategies, though. But we'll see where we can go. So, yeah, in 2 weeks we got an article coming out about zero tight end. And the general idea behind that is that the guys taken in the tier 2 tight ends So O.J. Howard, Evan Ingram, and Hunter Henry, that you're getting really poor values on them where you have to take them. So you like have to take them in rounds 5 or 6, and there's just like way more impactful players still on the board at those points. And you're kind of like paying to lose less at tight end because you're already behind the guys who have the big 3, right? So you're already like hoping to be in 4th place at that position. Where the big out of the tier 1 quarterbacks, usually the only guy you don't have a shot at in round 6 is Mahomes. So you usually still can have a shot at Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson or Andrew Luck. And I think in best ball, like quarterbacks are considerably better than they are in season long, right? So in season long, you can play matchups, you can hit the waiver wire, you can like get sometimes like a Kyler Murray with your very last pick and hit a home run. But in best ball, you like can't do any of those things. You also can't trade for a quarterback because like backup quarterbacks on teams in season long are incredibly easy to trade for. If you can just like give them any sort of an upgrade at a different position, they don't care about the fact that they have 2 quarterbacks. They'll give one up. So all those options are pretty much off the table in best ball. So I think quarterbacks are actually a lot more valuable in best ball than in season long, especially since a lot of the times you're going, you're either taking 2 or 3 quarterbacks. So we're definitely not going to hit a tier 1 tight end. So we will have an option to go 0 tight end. So there's like a lighter version of 0 tight end and a heavier version. The lighter version is you're waiting till round 8 and taking a tier 3 tight end, but you absolutely don't take a tier 3 tight end in rounds 1 through 7. A lot of times one of those guys will make it into round 8 for you, like Njoku, Ebron, Jared Cook the other day I got in round 8. So you're basically like waiting until those guys become really good values instead of reaching for them when they're like medium to bad values. And that's like the lighter version. The heavier version of 0 tight end is when you wait till round 10 or 11 and take Dallas Goedert as like your first tight end and then try to back him up with 2 upside options so that something happens to Ertz, you like leap all the way up into having a top 3 tight end. Like that seems like a huge winning formula if you are lucky enough for Ertz to get hurt. The nice thing about that strategy is that at round 10 and 11, Goddard's standalone value is fine. You're not getting destroyed on value by taking him there. He's going to produce around that level. You're going to have no clue what weeks that would be, but in best ball, we don't care about that, right? So we'll see if that's a strategy that opens up to us. Could end up starting this draft with 3 running backs, which would be interesting. I've not started a draft in quite a while with 3 running backs. So we've got Mixon, we've got Lev Bell, and depends what happens right here. I think we're going to take a running back in this spot. And if you're wondering if it's Devonta Freeman, it is not. All right, so Kerryon Johnson goes off the board. That's the guy I wanted the most. I'm still going to snatch up Derrick Henry here. Let's see how things go throughout the rest. So we've actually started our draft running back. Which is, boy, it's been a long time since I started to draft that way. I really like the wide receivers you can get rounds 4, 5, 6. I don't really like the running backs. Like, if there had been Keenan Allen available to us instead of Derrick Henry, I would have taken him, but I feel like these other guys, all right, we're going to take Brandon Cooks here and feel pretty happy about it. So I like Cooks over Woods. I like Cooks over Kenny Golladay. So we don't always have to take a quarterback in round 6 if we're passing up value, because sometimes you get super lucky. I've gotten, Deshaun Watson at the 7-6. I've gotten Aaron Rodgers at the 7-8. Like, you kind of got to watch the flow of your draft. Like, if Pat Mahomes falls into round 5, like a decent amount into round 5, that's probably a league where you can afford to try to snake a tier 1 quarterback in round 7. The rest of your team, when you do that, looks so good. Plus, then you only have to take 2 QBs, which is nice. So right now we've got one wide receiver and 3 running backs. We have Mixon, Le'Veon Bell, and Derrick Henry, and then we have Brandon Cooks. So yeah, at the point where we took Derrick Henry, had a better wide receiver been available to us, we would have won wide receiver. But Derrick Henry's of all, I don't really super love any of these running backs, but I definitely like all of these running backs a lot. Philip Lindsay at the 4-8, nice pick. So you'll see at the top, I've got some Seahawks schedules pulled up. So when we start to get around the area where Russell Wilson goes, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Seahawks and Russell Wilson in particular. Mike Williams at the 4-10, too soon for me, and I'm a man who owns 30% of Mike Williams, so that should tell you something. If I'm making that pick that Dawson Hitter just made, I'm probably taking David Montgomery and hoping that Mike Williams goes around to me. Or I'm taking Sonny Michel, who I'm feeling a little bit better about his knee now. In these best ball drafts too, I don't handcuff guys in the same league, right? So I'm not going to want Sonny Michel. I mean, I can't say that I've never done it, but I try not to do it. If you get the insane value and that's where your value is, then you kind of just got to take it. But in general, I'm not trying to get, a guy and his handcuff on the same best ball team. I want to have the handcuff on a different team so that my ceilings are both high. So if you take a handcuff that is a backup to a guy on your team, you lower the ceiling for your team. It's harder to actually come in first place in these things because you don't benefit from that lead back getting injured, right? It's like a net negative for you, even though you have the handcuff. Whereas if you have the handcuff for another guy and the other guy gets hurt, your ceiling now is bonkers. So we're not always going to be just fading these tight ends in the middle rounds every single time to go with our 0 tight end strategy. It's more of a tool to have in your toolbox as opposed to something to live and die by. So who are we hoping makes it to us here? Really hoping DJ Moore makes it to us. If he doesn't, I am not a Robbie Anderson fan. I am not an Allen Robinson fan. I am a Tyler Boyd fan. Cooper Kupp I am interested in with Brandon Cooks. I don't like the Cooper Kupp combination with Robert Woods too much because I think that they are going to cannibalize each other more than Cooper Kupp and Cooks will. Cooks was actually better in the games where Cooper Kupp played, whereas Robert Woods was certainly worse. All right, we'll take Cooper Kupp here. Not a guy I'm thrilled to have a ton of, but it's fine. So one thing about taking Cooper Kupp here is we're going to knock Tyler Boyd out of being somebody we can pick. They're all by week 9s. I think that that's okay. I don't take a whole lot of Darrell Henderson these days, but you might see that happen in this draft. I don't have much interest in Robbie Anderson. I just think it's crazy taking a Jets wide receiver this early in the draft. Plus he's a stick, and I feel like he's going to just get broken at some point very early in the season. So we might go for Hunter Henry in round 6. We could also go with a tier 1 quarterback in round 6. I would be a little tempted to not take a tier 1 quarterback in this draft, only because we already have Kupp and Cooks. So we're going to be kind of looking at snatching up Goff a little early. So this draft, we're not going to stick with our 0 tight end strategy again. Maybe we'll just never do it. No. 2 drafts we've thought about it. 2 drafts we've decided against it. So the reason why I was taking Henry there is because I know I kind of want to reach for Goff around early. If one of these tier 1 quarterbacks falls to us now in round 7, obviously we're not passing that up. But that's not incredibly likely to happen. It's pretty unlikely to happen. So we give ourselves just more options taking Hunter Henry there. Also, like, say Boyd had not been a bye week 9 guy, which conflicts with, Cooks and Cup, who we already have, then I would have just taken Boyd there. But since he was the only wide receiver on the board that I was really comfortable with grabbing that early, I didn't want to, go down to Jarvis Landry, Alshon Jeffrey, and Robbie Anderson. Also, if Penny or Henderson had made it to us, we might have went with a 4th running back, but both of them went right before our picks. And I wasn't too sad to see that. I have many, 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 many Hendersons. I'm finally getting enough Rashad Pennies now. Still don't have enough, but one could argue you can never have enough Rashad Pennies. So I expect both Luck and Rodgers to be off the board when we pick again. It's okay. Which might bring us to be able to put together some sort of Russell Wilson and Goff combo at quarterback, which I would like. Would lead into us talking about the Seahawks schedule and Russell Wilson a bit more. So I saw a tweet by JJ Zachariason, late round QB guy, much better fantasy player than me over his lifetime, but I extremely disagreed what he was saying in this tweet. So he was saying how he didn't think Russell Wilson would be a QB1 this year because, he had an insane touchdown rate last year. And whenever you see a guy with an insane touchdown rate, they regress, which is something I do agree with, right? That's one of the reasons why I wasn't, into taking Deshaun Watson in round 3 or 4 last year like some people were. And we saw that it worked out, It was pretty much like, unless Deshaun Watson's the greatest quarterback that's ever lived, he's going to regress. And people just couldn't get their heads around that. It's like, no, unless he is the single greatest quarterback in the history of the game, he has to regress. That's just what's going to happen. And it turned out he was not the single greatest quarterback in the history of the game, and he regressed some. So even though I think Russell Wilson is going to regress in his touchdown percentage because there's nowhere else for him to go, he kind of has to. That's one part of a much bigger story. So you have to go back and look at the games that the Seahawks played last year and look at the games that the Seahawks are going to play this year. And you'll see a huge difference in these things, in schedules. So we'll get into that a bit more here in a few. Right now, who are we hoping that drops to us? We are hoping Christian Kirk drops to us. We have a lukewarm interest in Baker Mayfield, but not really. Darius Geis, very, very light interest. Marvin Jones, definitely some interest. These 2 running backs, Ronald Jones and Royce Freeman, have some interest. I think we're probably going to pass on Baker here and wait till the next go around to grab a quarterback. Christian Kirk goes. That's pretty disappointing. So now I'm on Marvin Jones and the running backs. Goes Baker. Wouldn't hate Miles Sanders as our fourth running back either. I'm definitely way less interested in this group of wide receivers than I am Marvin Jones. So if Marvin Jones goes, I might take a running back first. I think I've taken Marvin Jones in every one of these videos. Just loving the value right now. If at some point he gets healthy, in the preseason, I think he's going to start going up a lot. And he is expected to be ready, so you're probably going to see him at 100% by the time August rolls around, and he'd start going higher. So I don't mind carrying too high of a percentage while I feel like he's a value. So Royce Freeman is down to the only running back I really like out of this crew. Still going to take Marvin Jones. Because we took the 3 running backs right off the bat, we can afford to wait on our other one. It's only our 3rd wide receiver right there. So we do have an option of taking a 2nd tight end if we want when we pick. Not terribly interested in that, but I have a little lukewarm interest. So I might grab up another wide receiver here, or Royce Freeman. Ooh. I'm going to take Royce Freeman here. Get our 4th running back. So right now we have Joe Mixon, Le'Veon Bell, Derrick Henry, and Royce Freeman as our running backs. We have Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, and Marvin Jones as our wide receivers, and Hunter Henry at tight end. So getting back to looking at the Seahawks schedule and why I do not agree with what J.J. Zachariason is saying. Let's look at their schedule from last year. All right, they put the Broncos, dumpster fire on offense. The Bears, week 2, who at that point in the season were like just starting to get into Matt Nagy's offense and like still a defense and first team. This Bears offense wasn't as good as it became later in the season. They played the Cowboys before they had Amari Cooper when the Cowboys could only do one thing, which was run Zeke Elliott or have Zeke Elliott catch passes. This Cowboys offense, the point that they played them was not any good. They played the Cardinals, dumpster fire. They played the Rams, very good offense. They played the Raiders, dumpster fire. The Lions, no offense whatsoever. The Chargers, very good offense, loss. The Rams, very good offense. The Packers, good offense, but we saw Aaron Rodgers have a very down year because of his injury and stuff last year, right? So I wouldn't say that this game is quite as good as a Packers game this year would be. They played the Seahawks, they played the Panthers, who Cam Newton was dealing with a shoulder. They played the 49ers, who didn't have their starting quarterback. They played the 49ers again, who didn't have their starting quarterback. They played the Vikings, who completely crapped their pants that game. They did play the Chiefs. Nothing you can say about that. That's a very, very good win and a good job by their defense to keep the Chiefs to 31 points. So then we'll not even count this Cardinals game since it's week 17. But generally, most of these weeks were bad, right? They were playing offenses that weren't performing or were bad. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'll put them in the okay category. 7, 8, 9. They played at least 8 games against just bad, not performing offenses in 2018. So obviously they were able to control the games with their defense and their run game. And that kept Russell Wilson's passing down, passing attempts way, way down from where they would normally be. Kyler Murray off the board. Mecole Hardman in round 9 still. Interesting. Wonder if that means that there's some Tyreek Hill news that was supposed to come out today. So after we make our next pick, I might take a look at that. So yeah, this is why people were always panicking. It used to be in these best ball drafts that in round 7, basically all the Njoku and up tight ends, Njoku I consider the bottom of tier 3, all those guys were gone in round 7 in most drafts. If you got lucky, one fell into round 8 for you. Now you see Njoku going in round 9. Ebron's still on the board. I'm not very big on Ebron this year either, but I do think at this point he's starting to become a value. So let's look at the people behind us. Anyone lower than us picked a quarterback? They have not. But there also is only 2 people picking behind us, So I think what we are going to do is take a non-QB and then hope that we can get Goff. It's going to kind of depend on like what is available to us on if we even want to bother with that. Like looking at this grouping, I'm just not really caring too much. So we want Goff because he correlates to our Cup and our Cooks. And the other players available right now, I'm probably just going to go ahead and pull Goff here if this guy before us doesn't take him. If this guy before us does take him, then I'm going to take Russell Wilson. We can get more into that. But all right, we're going to go down and snatch Goff up. Hard to believe that Goff threw for over 5,000 yards last year. So, when it gets back to us, we'll have a little bit of a decision to make here. Basically, we'll be deciding, like, I have almost no Kareem Hunt shares, and it's really nice to get him as, like, your fifth running back where you don't have to worry about him at all. I do like D.D. Westbrook and Deshaun Jackson both a decent amount, and we do only have 3 wide receivers. I also wouldn't mind pairing Russell Wilson with Jared Goff and just having an incredibly strong 2 quarterbacks where I don't have to worry about quarterback anymore for the rest of the draft. Well, since we're talking about Russell Wilson a bunch, I don't really feel like that much better about these guys than I do about, guys I can get in the next round. So we're actually going to take our second quarterback here. And let's go look at the Seahawks schedule this year. So last year they played 8 games at least against offenses that were either bad or not performing for injury reasons or whatever else is going on. And particularly in the division, they had the Cardinals and the 49ers who were just in complete disarray from not having quarterbacks, basically. Like Jimmy G was out, and Sam Bradford, and then Rosen, who played just completely horrific last season. The offensive line of the Cardinals was bad, and we're assuming that situation is going to be better this year. So let's look at their 2019 schedule. Though they play the Bengals, this game we could definitely see them completely controlling with the defense, ground and pound, just like they had all year last year, right? But then we've got Steelers. They're not going to control that game with their defense. The Saints, the Cardinals, who are expected to have this new offense rolling and doing what the air raid does and trying to run a million plays. So you have to assume that the Seahawks will need to actually score points. I mean, I still think that they will beat the Cardinals to death, but I think it will be by outscoring them as opposed to completely controlling the game, shutting the Cardinals down, and then just ground and pounding them out the entire game. Especially since they're not going to have Patrick Peterson for this game. The weakness of the Cardinals will be to pass on them as opposed to run on them. Then they've got the Rams, who are a fantastic offense. They've got the Browns, who are expected to be a great offense. Okay, the Ravens, another ground and pound game. Could see that staying low scoring and not many pass attempts. Then we've got the Falcons. There's going to be pass attempts in that game. The Buccaneers, there will be lots of pass attempts. 49ers, assuming Garoppolo is still healthy and Shanahan's offense is doing its thing, should be a much higher scoring series of games with the 49ers this year, right? The Eagles are going to score. Sorry, I'll just take a look back at what is going on in this draft. And we are not picking anytime soon, so that's cool. I'm not going to get too worried about who's going to be there for us. One person I will be interested in, if he can get to us, is Justice Hill. Since I have Russell Wilson, I'm probably going to leave my last round pick to take Will Dissly, since no one drafts him but me. And I love Will Dissly this year. So yeah, their entire schedule, there's only 2 games on it this year. They're both at home, where you could really see no matter what happens, there's not really any scenario other than this being ground and pound game, right? These 2 games, but every other game on their schedule has a chance to shoot out, or for Russell Wilson to have way more pass attempts. That is why I think Russell Wilson will finish as a QB1 again, and he has pretty much every season. So when it gets to us, We are interested in Dallas Goedert, Justice Hill. As I say every single one of these videos, we're interested in DK Metcalf to go with our Russell Wilson. We're interested in Kareem Hunt just because he could be our 5th running back, and then he can actually make... Like, I treat him as a straight handcuff, even though he might be more than that when he comes back, but the fact that he's missing so many weeks. And I try to only roster one straight handcuff running back on my rosters. So, like, straight handcuffs being guys like Chase Edmonds, Ryquell Armstead, where I don't think you're getting any value from them other than them being a handcuff. Well, we got 2 more picks before us. Not feeling too bad about it. Since we have Hunter Henry, Goedert is a guy that we aren't as interested in as usual. He still has that league-winning upside, but you also can't have him on 100% of your teams, and when you're smashing him for all of your picks in the 0 tight end strategy. There goes Goedert. All right, so we're actually going to take DK Metcalf up here over Kareem Hunt to go with Russell Wilson. So it's looking like we'll have a 2-stack for each of our quarterbacks, right? So we've got Goff, Cooks, and Kupp, and then we've got Wilson. We have Metcalf, and I'm going to assume we can get Disley. So if we had missed out, we could go for David Moore and Disley in the late rounds, which I also think is fine. But I'm not too interested in Metcalf and David Moore as a combo because, like, one's going to be the 2 and one's going to be the 3. Or one's going to be the 1 and Lockett's going to be the 2 and the other's going to be the 3. So just from the way the dynamic of that team is going to work out, I'm not super interested. So we're either looking at taking... Let's see who this pick is. Oof. I was going to say, we're either looking at taking Justice Hill or Kareem Hunt. See, like, I'm pretty comfortable with Kareem Hunt as my 5th running back. I think that your percentage on this guy should be, like, extremely, extremely low. But this is my 2nd share of him in 110 drafts. And I would like to at least be something like 3% on him so that if something happens to Chubb and he goes buck wild the last few weeks of the season, like, I'm not just taking it in the teeth in every league. Like, I don't want a lot of Kareem Hunt, but I do want 3%. And I'm really trying to get that 3% in these super late rounds. It's been really hard too. He goes in around like 8 a lot, and I'm just like, hell no. So seeing him there and getting a chance at him in round 12, especially when we passed on him for Metcalf for our Wilson stack, is really nice. So we have a little interest in a 2nd tight end. We've got a target for our 3rd tight end. We also don't want to wait as long on our last running back because we have Kareem Hunt, right? So we only want one pure handcuff on our team. Even though Hunt might be more than that when he comes back, I treat him as a pure handcuff because he's missing those 8 weeks. So that's 8 weeks that even if the starter went down, you don't get anything from him. So the way I think of him in my mind is as a pure handcuff. We have only 4 wide receivers, so we have interest in that. Kind of nice that I got to take Russell Wilson since I was planning on talking about that for the video. Probably would have taken him in that spot either way, just because there wasn't like a whole lot I was interested in at that point. And I have him ranked higher than Goff, but I have them in the same tier. And the fact that we already had Cooks and Kupp led me to want to take Goff first. I was more willing to miss out on Wilson and get somebody else. My tiers for best ball are much bigger than my tiers for season long. Especially at quarterback. Like, tier 1 of quarterback for me is, the 4 guys I think that are obviously the best. And then my tier 2 is like 10 or 12 guys. Just because of, like, between stacking and ADPs and stuff, like, you just want to leave yourself. And plus ownership percentage is a thing in best ball where it's not, so much in season long. So you want to kind of like leave yourself bigger tiers, more room to work with. We don't really need QB here anymore. It's like cutting tight end off on us now. I'm not sure how we get that back. I have to bring up tight end on my phone because whatever they got going on with this site right now is problems. All right, so for tight ends, we've got Rudolph, Delaney Walker, Hawkinson, Doyle. That group left. Rudolph, not a guy to us because by week 12, which is the same as our Hunter Henry. I'm going to try reloading this. See if that fixes this issue. But yeah, this site definitely needs to get the bye weeks, on your roster grids on your PC. It's only available on the app. Whatever they got going on with this search for players being too big is cutting the tight ends right off from here. It's rough. So I'm most interested in Delaney Walker and Dante Moncrief at the moment. I'm also very interested in Matt Breida. Singletary and Madison are also on my radar. I think at this pick, I would most like to get Moncrief. Nice. So, getting a share from around 13 is fine with me. I don't quite believe the hype as much as recently came out for him, but I think that's pretty good value. There goes Delaney Walker. So I'm not stuck on picking a tight end here. I would rather grab Breida or Singletary if one of those two falls to us than worry about tight end the next round. I think that there'll still be plenty of options open, although they are starting to go off the board. But we're just not passing Matt Breida in round 14. There he goes. Okay, that's fine. So for us, it's choosing between Devin Singletary and a tight end, in which case I'm also still just going to go with Devin Singletary. He's like the end of A tier of running backs for me. Guys I feel like have really, really big upsides that don't require a lot to get there. I think that there's some chance that Singletary just beats out all the dudes in Buffalo and he's the guy. So at tight end, what we are looking at on the way back is snatching up the top 5 guys on this list are Hawkinson, Jordan Reed, Olsen, Noah Fant, Eifert, all those guys we have interest in. Darren Waller just went. He was a guy we had interest in. So we also have the option of always taking Ian Thomas, who I think is a high upside guy that you can get late. Though I wouldn't be taking him over Disley in this case because we have Russell Wilson. So we're just kind of hoping one of these 4 or 5 top tight ends on this list makes it back to us. Either Hawkinson, Jordan Reed, Greg Olsen, Noah Fant, or Tyler Eifert. They're all in a pool of different groups of players that you will find in the Zero Tight End article in 2 weeks. And the reason why there's groups put together for that article is you don't want 2 of the guys from the most expensive group because they cost too much draft capital, and then the second group is the injury risk tight ends, so it's Walker, Reed, Olsen, Eifert. Then the third group is big upside guys, but they also have big downsides. So, Disley, because he just hasn't played enough to prove it yet. Waller, for the same reason. Hawkinson and Fant are in that group 3 for me. So, in the group 2 is Olsen, Eifert, Jordan Reed, and Delaney Walker. So it doesn't look like too many of the tight ends are flying off the board just yet. That's nice. Chase Edmonds round 15 is a bit early for me, but I do like him as a handcuff. I tend to try to get my share of him only in the last round. Olsen off the board, so now we're down to kind of four guys still. Still four we're interested in. Hawkinson, Jordan Reed, Fant, and Eifert. I don't know who I want more this year between Hawkinson and Fant. I think Hawkinson will be on the field more, but I imagine that Fant will only be on the field to catch passes. So pretty much every time he's out there, he's going to be an option where Hawkinson will be blocking a ton. That is off the table for us. So basically, we're just hoping that both Fant and Eifert don't get taken. Not too high on Gesicki. I don't really know what to expect from him. He is definitely a fallback option if you lose out on all those types of people. I rank him lower than Eifert and Fant, but he's certainly still on our radar. I might actually take him here. I like the upside of Marquise Brown a lot, but that is a huge injury risk you're looking at there. I like the upside of Robert Foster. Malcolm Brown in round 15. Got all of my shares of him in round 18. Love it. Still hanging around 20% for me. Take our 4 good games from Tyler Eifert before he goes down. So in round 17 or 18, we're going to look to take Will Dissly. So we're only really interested in wide receiver now. Because we still need 2 more of those to round out our team, and we cannot take anybody by week 9, so we have to keep that in mind. We also don't want David Moore because we already have Metcalf, and we're planning on taking Dissly. And if you've heard me talk in other videos, you only want 2 pass-catching options for a quarterback. Brown went. So between Jamison Crowder and Robert Foster, I prefer Robert Foster by a pretty good deal. My ownership percentage on Robert Foster is very high. On Jamison Crowder, it's 0, so I'm going to get me a little Crowder share here. So then we'll decide in the last round if we want to take Will Dissly or not. For a last round flyers, a couple guys I have on my radar that I haven't taken much of are J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who I'm going to I think I have 5 shares of now. Chris Connolly or DJ Chark from the Jaguars. Marcus Lee from the Jaguars. I read something where Chris Connolly was a lock to be in their top 3 wide receivers. I don't believe that at all. I don't see how that's possible. They have to give DJ Chark a chance this year, right? They picked the guy in the 2nd round. They saw nothing about how he can play last year. It's hard to see him jumping Marquise Lee, and he's not jumping D.D. Westbrook. So I guess Marquise Lee could not be back from his injury, and that's how he could end up in there. So let's take a look at our team. At quarterback, we have Goff and Russell Wilson, which I like quite a bit. Completely comfortable with that. At running back, we don't have any of the top end guys, which is annoying, but we do have Mixon plus Bell, which is nice. We've got Derrick Henry, we've got Royce Freeman, we've got Kareem Hunt, if he can hit on those late weeks. Something happens to Chubb, and we've got Devin Singletary. So all in all, I'd give our quarterbacks a B+, our running backs a B+. Wide receiver, we've got Cooks, Cooper Kupp, Marvin Jones, DK Metcalf, Dante Moncrief, Jamison Crowder, and 1 flyer. I would give that a B+. And tight end, we've got Hunter Henry, Tyler Eifert, and I'm going to assume Will Dissly, but it could end up being somebody else. And so I think every single piece of this team is a B+. I think barring, some sort of double quarterback injury or something, that this is a team that should definitely cash. I think the odds of this team actually coming in first place are pretty small, but I'm know that there's much you can do about that. Like whenever you look at your roster and you don't see, one of the top wide receivers and you don't see one of the top running backs, it's hard to envision your team coming in actual first place. But this team might have enough depth to pull it out because it's season long, right? So if people are making a bunch of mistakes, you can really grind out percentage points against them, like roster construction and that kind of stuff. I notice roster construction seems to have gotten much better. I don't know if people are actually reading my stuff or if it's just coincidence, but out of this whole thing, well, now I see I would much rather see this be 6 and 7. Ooh, much rather see that be 6 and 7. This guy's got 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, so he's not going to be able to get to optimal roster construction. There's still probably enough mistakes being made that you're grinding out some pretty good percentage points just on roster construction. How many tight ends do the people behind us have? They each have 2. Could take a Byron Pringle share. I don't know if I buy into that so much. The third option last year on the Chiefs was Sammy Watkins, who's a good player, right? And his numbers looked fine, but the percentage of time he was actually used by the offense was pretty small. They were pretty much going with Kelsey and Hill a ton. Kelsey actually was twice as active as Watkins being the third most active person for the games he was in. This might be yet another A.J. Brown share for me, which I've been kind of all over. If Brown and Arcega-Whiteside are both there, I might just take Disley to make sure that I don't get snaked on Disley. Because I don't really hate taking another DJ Chark share with this team. I feel like the top... Is there literally anyone else? Yeah, there's Ian Thomas if we get pinched. Hey, Pringle for us. That's cool. We have taken a little Disley. I'm gonna end up with 25% AJ Brown because I just cannot pass the guy in situations like this. I know that their passing offense is bad, but he's a virtual guarantee to be the number 2. I think Humphreys will just play slot, and he has a chance of grinding his way up to being the number 1. So we're all done actually with our team now. Just take a screenshot here. So let's see what we got. We ended up with, I think, a B+ at every single position. Goff and Russell Wilson, Mixon, Le'Veon Bell, Derrick Henry, Royce Freeman, Kareem Hunt, and Devin Singletary. And then at tight end, we've got Hunter Henry, Tyler Eifert, and Will Disley. That could end up being a B instead of a B+. I would have liked Tyler Eifert to end up being, Noah Fant, but didn't work out for him to drop to us there. And our wide receivers are Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp, Marvin Jones, DK Metcalf, Dante Moncrief, Jamison Crowder, and AJ Brown. So yeah, if things go wrong with these injuries and these guys are both slow to start the season, we could be in trouble. But like I've said before, as far as everything I've read, Marvin Jones is supposed to be basically good to go. So I'm going to assume that all that information is correct. He had surgery for a bone bruise last year. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in, and good luck in your next draft.